special intensive revision is specifically designed to disenfranchise about 30 to 40% of eligible voters of not only Bihar, but after that, West Bengal and a few other states. The determination of a person's citizenship is not done by the Election Commission. You have no business determining if a person is an Indian citizen or not. You have voted in 10 elections. Today, you are being told suddenly that the burden of proof is on you to determine that you have to go and get your parents' place of birth. The current election commissioner's answer to everything is this is a new EC. Yes, of course it's a new EC. It's no longer an EC. It's just a branch of the BJP. Of course it's a new EC. We do a civil disobedience movement where you literally tell people that you don't give kagas nahi dikhayenge. Don't show anything.
So do you think that's in the offing of civil disobedience movement against the election commission?
That will happen in India.
Hi, I was watching the Scroll interview. The EC is currently carrying out what it calls a special intensive revision of voter rolls in Bihar. The state goes to polls later this year. Meanwhile, Trinamool MP Mahua Moitra has moved the Supreme Court to try and stop the election commission. We talked to her to try and understand why she opposes the Bihar voter roll revision and what this might mean for the sanctity of India's elections. Welcome to Scroll, Mahua.
Thank you.
So why do you oppose the voter roll revision in Bihar?
We don't oppose any voter roll revision. A voter roll revision, there are 2 or 3 methods by which a normal voter roll revision goes on by. One is an intensive revision, which you go door to door and you start from scratch and you put everyone down. That's fine. You have what is known as a summary revision, which is a continuous process, which we are all part of, which usually takes place between June to November, and then the new rolls are published in January, especially before every election. That's something that we've seen throughout our political life. That's okay. You also have a combination of the two. You can have a special revision like they did in 2002. And what is happening now, the special intensive revision, it is specifically designed to disenfranchise about 30 to 40% of eligible voters of not only Bihar, but after that, West Bengal and a few other states.
You think West Bengal is next?
I don't think. We know. West Bengal is on the first. They've already had VCs. The CEO of West Bengal has had VCs with the EROs. And currently, as we speak, today, Monday, in the training center in Dwarka, the Election Commission has called EROs and other senior officers from West Bengal for this training.
The EC and the BJP both claim this is to weed out illegal migrants. Do you want illegal migrants to be on the rolls?
It's not a question of illegal migrants to be on the rolls. It is the EC has now, unfortunately, what is the EC's role? The EC it's very important that people understand what the EC is for in this country. The EC's job it's a constitutional authority. Its job is to be an enabling service provider to help the largest democracy in the world and its voters to exercise their franchise. When Sukumar Sen, who was the first election commissioner, his job was to make sure that it was as inclusive a process as possible. And even refugees at that time, special care was taken so they went during their rehabilitation so they could vote. That's what the EC's role is. The EC is not some kind of BJP's super sort of voter bulldozer police by which the onus of the burden of proof of citizenship is suddenly transferred all over again, the point here being all over again, to the voters who have already been registered as bona fide voters and who have continuously voted in the last 10, 12 elections, whatever it may be, since 2003, to go over again and re-establish themselves. That's what we have a problem with.
This onus of putting citizenship proof on the voter.
Yes.
A lot of people have called this quote-unquote backdoor NRC.
Of course it is. It is exactly that. Because the Citizenship Act, it comes under the Ministry of Home Affairs. To determine whether you are a citizen or not is something that is determined by the Ministry of Home Affairs. And no one but the CEC himself. I know he's quite sensitive to personal remarks being made about him. So I'm sure he'll remember this if he sees this podcast. But I have no hesitation in saying that if there's one person who knows this difference, it's the CEC. Because he was Additional Secretary Home before he came to his present position. So he knows very well that a citizenship is left, the determination of a person's citizenship is not done by the Election Commission. You have no business determining if a person is an Indian citizen or not. You can disqualify a non-citizen if there is an objection, but you cannot ask for citizenship documents. That is the job of the Home Ministry.
When you talk of the onus of proof being on the citizen, you're saying it should actually be on the Home Ministry. So how would it work on the ground?
It does. See, the question is this, that if you look at any test of citizenship, what are you doing today? You are taking 2003 as an arbitrary cutoff, right? You're taking 2003. Now in India, we don't have A-class citizens, B-class citizens and C-class citizens. We don't. The people, you have said people as of 2003 are in one category where you don't have to show documentation. People born between 1987 and 2004 have to show proof of their birth as well as that of one parent. People from 2004 onwards have to show proof of and place of birth of both parents and yourself. So you're creating different bars on the burden of proof on three different classes. Now, if you look at a person born in 1987, who has started voting from 2004, today is 2026, that's 22 years. Let's take for Bengal. So in 2004, you have voted for 2006 assembly elections, 2008 panchayat elections, 2009 Lok Sabha elections, 2011 assembly elections, 2013 panchayat elections, 2014 Lok Sabha election, 2016 assembly election, 2018 panchayat election, 2021 assembly election, 2024. That makes it 10 elections. Every time you have done it after a yearly summary revision of voters coming out. You have been tested, you have voted in all three. The ERO, according to the rules, has been, according to the RP Act and of the Registration of Electors Act, RP Act 1950, Registration of Electors Act 1960, the ERO has been satisfied that you're fit to be on the roll, yes or no? You have voted in 10 elections. Today you are being told suddenly that the burden of proof is on you to determine that you have to go and get your parents' place of birth. Now, it says and or, date and or place of birth. Who decides and or place of birth? You have a list of 11 documents on which Aadhaar is not included. Your ration card is not included. Your current EPIC is not included. Now, your 2003 voters list is your backdrop. Here, on one side, you are using a voters list, which is a EC document, which is your bar. At the other side, you are not allowing your voter's identity card to be used. Out of the 11 documents, I have a list of the 11 documents.
In fact, Aadhaar is not in the list.
Even Aadhaar is not in the list. But if you see the 11 documents, what is there? You have your PSU card in case you work for a central government or state government. That does not have your place of birth on it. Some of them don't even have your date of birth on it. You have a matriculation certificate for those who have passed metric. In that also doesn't have your place of birth on it, right? You have a passport. Now, 7.5% of all of Indians have a passport. In Bihar, 2.4% of people have a passport. That's the only thing with place of birth, but that is almost negligible, so that doesn't even apply here. SC/ST certificate. Do all SC/STs have a SC/ST certificate? Can the government of Bihar or the government of India today on affidavit say that every SC/ST residing in India has the right certificate? Every forest dweller has an FRC certificate. Can you certify? So you can be an SC/ST without an SC/ST certificate. You cannot have passed your metric. You have an EPIC and a voter card. You have both things. Today now suddenly you have to prove that your mother and father's birth certificate, and if you can't prove it, then that's it. You're cut off the list.
It seems like it will hit the dispossessed the most.
It
people
will hit
without
the dispossessed, which is exactly what the BJP want. Which is exactly what the BJP, you have to understand, have a core vote bank. Their core vote bank are a sort of, rabid middle class Hindutva who buy their Hindutva brainwashing garbage. You have traders, you have a few core vote bank. The BJP is very clear. They said those who vote for us, if we consolidate that, that's about enough. They don't win with 50% of the vote. They win with 32% of the vote. So they say, look, if we get our core vote bank to vote for us and if we can make sure the others are disenfranchised, then we keep winning with 30%, with 22% of the total vote. That's all they want. And this is all that they are trying to do with this exercise. In Bihar, for example, 2.5 crore people out of 8 crores are going to be disenfranchised. Think of the timeline. 24th June, they come out with this notification. Then 8 crore forms have to be given out. Think about it. So by 5th of July, these forms have been printed. So from 5th of July till the 25th of July, basically 20 days. What is happening now? This is very important. Every day the CEC is saying, 24% of forms we've got. My staff who's sitting here, they're in Bihar. We all have relatives, friends, everybody in Bihar. For the last week, what they're saying is, there is no need for the documents. Just fill the enumeration form, just sign in.
So what is the point of that?
The point is, if if they had asked for the valid documents, then on the 25th of July, they would have realized that only 40% of Bihar have managed to give it. Now what they're saying is, look, out of 8 crore people, I have 7 crore forms. Look how wonderful.
It's to
this
pump
is
up the
perfect.
number,
You're pumping up the number every single day. If you're not giving the additional documentation, what revision is this? What revision is this? Then you will go and you will selectively weed out those who have given the documentation and those that you have not.
Why do you think the EC started this so late, such a big process?
The EC has done this again, and I have no hesitation in saying this. It is the greatest shame. The EC's address should be changed from Ashoka Road to Deen Dayal Upadhyay Marg. The EC should not be it should just be on the floor of the BJP office. To use taxpayer money to fund a separate office of the Election Commission is rapidly becoming a farce in this country. So the EC, January 9, 2025, 5 months ago, was when the revision of Bihar was complete. There was nothing wrong with that revision. If you see, actually, when you do a summary roll revision, which you do, you always benchmark it to previous summary roll revisions to know if there's a huge jump in number of migrants, huge number of new voters. The latest Bihar summary revision, and we have documentary evidence of that, as close as January 25, is absolutely on track, was finished on track. So, for example, 1,91,000 people have shifted, 2 lakh people have shifted residence, which is normal in about a state of Bihar. People get married, you graduate, you get a job, you move to another city. All of that has been absolutely on track. So they were going to go to polls based on that. Now, you know you were going to polls in November. It's not a surprise. We know everyone's going to polls in November. Why, after completing this exercise in January 25, coming out with a new roll, do you suddenly decide on the 24th of June that you will give a period of 30 days, in fact, to finish this in a state of 8 crore voters? Because you want to create chaos and you want to disenfranchise people. It is only malified intent. It cannot be bona fide intent.
But that's a big charge you're making, Mahua. You're saying that the constitutional body, the EC, is following the diktats of the BJP.
Of course. I mean, where are you living? Where have you been living? What do you think the EC has done? What do you think the EC has done with Maharashtra? What do you think the EC has done with few other states? The EC met us face to face. Prashant Bhushan, ADR and I went on the Supreme Court's directive to meet with the EC on the 17C forms. You are expecting, for example, now, they're saying if you are a migrant worker, in Bihar, then you have over 2 crore, 1.5 crore migrant workers outside. Certainly now, with the floods in Bihar, with the Kharif sowing season, migrant workers don't have the money to come back just to do this work. They won't come back in this 1 month to do this. It's not even like some big festival right now that they'll come back. They won't come back. They won't do this. What are they saying? They said the migrant worker can download the form, fill it up and upload it. Please note, on the other hand, when we went to meet the EC, they told us, we said, why don't you upload the 17C forms? They said, no, how can we upload so many 17C forms? The Election Commission of India, with all the resources and all the money and all the manpower of the government of India and of the people of India, cannot upload 17C forms of every elector, and you're expecting poor migrant dispossessed workers in other cities to download forms, fill them up and upload them onto a website which half the time doesn't work.
In fact, it seems one of the explicit proposals of the EC is to make sure that migrant workers now vote in their current residence, right?
Yeah, which means people will have to come back, which means that people will have to fill this form in, otherwise they will be displaced. So can you imagine if you're working in Telangana or you're working in Bombay, you're working anywhere outside of Bihar, you have till the 25th of July to come back and do this. Otherwise you've got to upload the form, download it. I mean, it is so crazy, it is ridiculous. So this is not a big charge against the EC, it's the truth. Where in the history of the Election Commission has something like this happened without any discussion with political parties? I'm not talking one-on-one closed-door discussions where they arbitrarily decide 2 per political party. That the parties went to meet him, they decide no, 2 per political party, they keep waiting outside. Who are you to decide how many people we will send? You get a bigger room, you meet with everyone, right? Where has civil society have any civil society? Where has something like this come out with a press note? Why has there been no press conference for something as sort of, seminal as this? So this is not a charge, this is the truth.
Indian democracy has had many faults, but I think till now there has never been such a big question mark raised by the opposition against the very process of voting itself.
And about the basic, we've had issues with democracy. Look, remember our democracy when it came, there was a lot of, it was a democracy where people didn't think we'd last. People questioned the fact that
there
we gave the
doubters.
universal franchise to everyone, saying, are you ready? Are you an educated population that you can exercise the vote? We were one of the few countries in the world which gave it to men and women at the same time. Everywhere else, even the UK, the US came through long, painful suffragette movements. Here we gave it to it. So we have defied many odds to still be a democracy. But now, over the last 3 years, what we've seen with the EC, you saw during the Lok Sabha elections, with the 3-month-long in the height of the summer going on and on and on with this. You saw that. At the end of which, the election commissioner came out and said, one thing we've learned is don't do it in the summer. No shit, Sherlock. We could have told you that before.
Right.
So, think about that and think of the process. Think of what's happened in Maharashtra. The number of voters is more than the number of adult population of Maharashtra. Think about it.
What does the EC say when the opposition raises these issues?
They say nothing. They act like he's doing us a favor by being in the same room as us. The current election commissioner's answer to everything is this is a new EC. Yes, of course it's a new EC. It's no longer an EC. It's just a branch of the BJP. Of course it's a new EC. That's his answer to everything. This is a new EC. This is how we do things. You are a bureaucrat with a constitutional mandate. Please don't think you're some super regulatory authority trying to disenfranchise Indians. Please get a reality check as to who you are, who has placed you there, and what your real job is. Right? Nobody is saying this aloud. I don't understand why. So the opposition is saying this today.
But apart from raising these allegations, Mahua, these are huge allegations. What is the opposition?
They're not allegations. These are backed up by numbers and proof. We've gone to court. We are not making wild goose allegations in a street side meeting. We've followed it up with documentary evidence and the law.
Allegations backed up by numbers and proof. But what is the strategy of the opposition in the next 6 months, 1 year to counter this?
Look, there's two things, right? One is that you take it to the people. We do a civil disobedience movement where you literally tell people that you don't give kaagaz nahi dikhayenge.
So
don't show anything.
So do you think that's in the offing, a civil disobedience movement against the election commission?
That will happen in India, where you are 50% of the population and Bihar are not going to be able to show documents. They don't have these documents and nobody should have these documents. When you say and or, well, who decides and or? So I decide or, and I give you one document and then the ERO says I want and. What are you going to do? Who are you going to go to? You decide you're not going to, he decides you're not a citizen. To not be a citizen is a disqualification. To be a citizen is not a qualification. You must understand the difference between the two. And in this case, it's a two-pronged approach. We have approached the Supreme Court, like in Waqf, we need immediate relief. We need an intermediate stay right now. Because once they carry this through, they will have carte blanche to carry it to other states. So I've asked for obviously a stay for Bihar, but more important, for a stay on this process being started in other states.
How hopeful are you for a stay from the Supreme Court?
Look, it's the highest court of the land. We believe in justice. We can predict what the court is, but of course, that is the highest court of the land. And as an Indian citizen, my hope at the end of the day will always be in the highest court of the land. I will never lose that hope and I will always go knocking on their door. No matter, even though there may be times where I feel I haven't got justice, I cannot lose hope. Because if you lose hope in that, then you may as well curl up and die.
So Supreme Court civil disobedience. I want to jump into Bengal. So there have been some serious allegations of voter rigging against the Trinamool itself. So isn't this a bit of a pot kettle situation?
This kind of allegation, those are wild allegations. We had tell me the last elections. 2024 Lok Sabha elections, the BJP went down from 18 seats to whatever it was, 12 seats or something like that. Now, the 24 elections were done on exactly by their playbook, not on ours. They said they want a 7-phase elections. West Bengal went through a 7-phase elections. My election was in April and Calcutta was on the 1st of June. Right? That's how much they dragged it out. 3rd of June, Calcutta was.
But what about the panchayat?
So, hear me out. The elections are done according exactly by their schedule. Their central forces, the number of central forces in Bengal were greater than the number of central forces in perhaps 5 states combined. Like in my constituency, they had 3 special observers, right? So the entire election is done according to their rules, under their watch with their police and their officials. We are helpless. They transfer our OCs, our BDOs, everybody. I just finished right now a by-election to an assembly seat in my constituency just 2 weeks ago, which Trinamool won by 50,000, right? They had 3 special observers in there. He was doing closed-door meetings with the CAPF. We complained, which is unheard of, leaving the police out of it, which no one does, okay? Even then, they can't win. So what is these allegations? You have put 3 CCTVs on every booth. You are putting the CCTVs, the feed is going to you, right? So what are these allegations that we are supposed to do? Every election is done as per the BJP's timeline, as per their schedule, under their watch, with central forces who report to the BJP and with observers who are the BJP's cadre, if I may go so far as to say this. So, this is just rubbish.
And what about the panchayat elections?
What about the panchayat? They have central force in the panchayat elections also.
So you're denying rigging even there?
No, absolutely not. You can prove it. This is just some lore which is continuing year after year after year.
Final question, Mahua. I want to zoom out over the politics of citizenship. This isn't the only place this is playing out. We've seen a spate of attacks on Bengali migrant workers, often tarring them as quote-unquote Bangladeshi.
Right.
Some of them actually even been forced into Bangladesh.
Yes.
And they've been gotten back into Bengal. What do you have to say about that?
This is a very dangerous trend in the last sort of 4 to 5 months, I would say, in the non-BJP ruled states. Now, Bengal today has about 22 lakh migrants, outward migrants. But Bengal is home to over 1.3 crore inward migrants. Please understand. So when the BJP come out and they say...
It's a net in-migration state.
It's a net in-migration state. People don't realize this. So when people say, oh, there are no jobs in Bengal, there's nothing in Bengal, why are your people going out? Please understand, we have 1/5 of outward migrants as compared to inward migrants. Now, what we've seen in the last 3 to 4 months has been, for example, Rajasthan, and our chief minister brought this up, 300 to 400 Bengalis who are involved in the jewelry trade, who are involved in all of this, who are bona fide workers who go there, and they're all skilled workers, not unskilled workers. They were in the trade, and they were put away in a room and kept and detained as illegal migrants. Now, what has happened in Maharashtra by the police? What's happened in Maharashtra? You mentioned this. 7 migrants were taken, Bengali migrants were taken, even though they had full documentary evidence, were taken and put away as illegal migrants and pushed into Bangladesh by the BSF. The state government had to bring them back. They were flown into Bagdogra, told in fact, oh, you vote for Mamta, let's see who gets you back. You go to Bangladesh, right? The last one, Malda, Murshidabad, Nadia, now it's happening in Orissa. Please understand, Orissa is our neighboring state. We've never faced this before with the BJD government in Orissa. For the past 1 year, we've had a BJP government in Orissa, in Bhadrak, in the Paradeep area, in Karkat, in Jagatsinghpur, in all of these districts now. If you're speaking Bengali and you happen to have if you're speaking Bengali, that's enough, and you happen to have a Muslim last name, then you're a Bangladeshi. Our chief secretary is fed up. Their chief secretary isn't listening to our chief secretary also. Our DJP is calling their GJP, he's fed up. So our SPs, when people are detained, they call us. Our SPs are immediately doing a verification on spot in that person's village and saying, listen, this person is from this village in Murshidabad, this is his name, these are his credentials, completely bona fide. You give them, please release them. Even that is not happening. So linguistic identity is being used to harass Bengalis. It's exactly what happened in Assam during the Alpha agitation. If you remember, they had this Bengali khedao. Khedao is the Assamese word for hatao. So it's the same kind of thing that is happening in all the BJP ruled states. So this kind of linguistic identity, which is taking over, and people are being persecuted on the basis of their linguistic identity, is a very scary trend, and it's just I think a taste of things to come. And if you don't nip it in the bud, it's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse.
Thank you so much for this, Mahua.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Scroll.
Thank you.
If you want to support independent media, I want you to do 2 things. 1, like and subscribe to this channel. Number 2, support us by going to Scroll.in/contribute. I'm Shoaib Daniel. Thank you for watching.